Welcome back. No exaggeration, our next guest changed my life about 2 years ago when I was looking for a meatless lasagna recipe. And now I make her nice lasagna about once a month. Yasik and I are obsessed. She's a writer, she's a podcaster, she's a best-selling cookbook author, and she's here with her latest, Simply Julia. Please welcome all the way from New York City, Julia Turshen. Hello, Julia.
Hi,
Hi,
Julia.
thank you so much for having me. That's the best introduction I've ever received. The lasagna life changer. I'll take it.
We'll try not to gush too much. And we'll talk about this cookbook because you call this a healthy comfort food cookbook. And one of the reasons we love you and so many people love you is you've been really open about your personal struggles with body image and your thoughts on diet culture. So we're curious to know about maybe the breakthroughs that you've had that have helped you to combat those struggles and shift your perspective maybe a little bit. And it has something to do with the Matrix.
It
Tell
does.
us.
It does. That is accurate. Yeah, this is a healthy cookbook that has nothing to do with weight loss, which is something I'm really happy about and honestly really proud of. And yeah, just as you said, this comes from a really personal place because I haven't always felt so great about my body, which I think a lot of people could say,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. For me to get to a place where I can comfortably talk to the two of you about my body image on TV, put it in a cookbook. Part of how I got there was honestly my wife, Grace, who is just the best person I know and so supportive. And Grace basically married someone who really didn't like her body. And as we would talk about that over the years, and she would help me just pause and reflect on that, she kept telling me diet culture is like the Matrix. And I said, I think I know what you mean, but I'm not really sure because I've never seen the movie. So Grace made me sit down and watch the Matrix. I think I'm the last person to ever see it. And now I just get it. And I'm like, oh yeah, diet culture is the Matrix. Like it's this thing that we think is like
Oh
real,
my
but it's
God.
not.
My mind's blown a bit. Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep talking about it a little bit more because before you started
Sure.
writing your own cookbooks, you were collaborating with other people on theirs, including some pretty big names like Gwyneth Paltrow. So, what did being at like the center of the wellness industry, how did that
Mm-hmm.
affect your relationship with body image and diet culture?
I went into that kind of work, already being such a practitioner of diet culture. And I also did things like I wrote an article for Vogue magazine about, the hardest part isn't losing weight, it's maintaining the weight loss. And I wrote down what I weighed in the article, and then I gained weight. And then the fact checker called me to go over the details of the piece. And
Mm.
I lied to the fact checker of Vogue and I said, I weigh the same. I had also put myself in a position where a fact checker from Vogue magazine was asking me about my weight, like I put
Yeah.
myself there. So having been that person who was, volunteering that information to now feeling just very compassionate for myself, I think for me, what I've taken away from that is just how powerful it is to both learn new things and also unlearn lots of things. And
Yeah.
I think also just how powerful it is when you take yourself out of the center.
We're going to get into more of it, but right now, Lainey and I are going to try one of your delicious dishes. I think it's safe to say that Lainey and I are both like huge fans of jalapeno poppers,
Hmm.
but you took this to the next level and made it into a chicken dish.
They are chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast, something a lot of people kind of associate with really boring, bland meals.
Sorry.
And
So good. Sorry. Keep going, keep going. Sorry.
I'm so glad. No, that's the best. That's the best. They are so good. This is so fun. So you pound them out. So any recipe that starts with allowing you to like use a mallet, I'm like all for that. I think that's really fun. So you pound them out and then you make a mixture of finely diced fresh jalapeno peppers, little cilantro, a little bit of grated cheddar cheese and some cream cheese. And you make this mixture, which by the way is delicious on its own. Like put that on a
Yeah.
baked potato, call it a
Hmm.
day. So you spread this mixture on your chicken and then you roll up your chicken like it's a little yoga mat, basically. And you put some spices on top, you put it in the oven, and you get this spiral of all the flavors of a jalapeno popper, which is delicious. And it basically adds some fat and some flavor to the chicken.
I really enjoy the flavor explosion. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Ju- Julia, one of the things I really like about you and why I fell in love with your nice lasagna is because it didn't intimidate me. I find that a
Hmm.
lot of cookbooks and a lot of recipes, assuming everybody has like the
Yeah.
basic language of cooking in a Western kitchen and even the
Mhm.
tools, you make it really uncomplicated and accessible. So, on that note, what uncomplicated sides would you recommend to go with jalapeno popper chicken?
I really, really value what you just said because it's so true. I'm a home cook who writes recipes for other home cooks. So I don't assume anyone is like higher or lower than anyone else. Like we are on the same level. And for me, it comes back to if I can get away with using one pot for a recipe instead of two, like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
wash the extra pot. I don't think you do either. So anyway, super, super fun side dish for this super fun chicken are these carrots. These are Hasselback carrots. So, like a Hasselback potato, it's got like a lot of slices in it, then it's roasted. So it gets that cool texture. I did that with carrots and it just makes them so fun. They're basically just roasted carrots, but because they have all these cuts in them, one, they look really appealing. They're really fun. And two, they actually absorb so much more flavor. Like I put this mixture of olive oil, some smoked paprika, pimenton, some salt, and it gets like into all those little crevices. So instead of just being outside of the carrot, it sort of gets into it. And then they've got a little yogurt and garlic sauce on them, which is just yogurt and garlic. That's the sauce. And some toasted nuts and parsley. And then right in the baking dish, I roast some lemons. And these it's so good. It makes like roasted lemon juice. It gets like a little sweeter. It's not so tart. It's so beautiful. It's so fun. So this to me, this chicken and these carrots together, like the most fun dinner ever.
Oh, I can't wait because I need a little something to go with carrots. I can't just do like a bare carrot. So the yogurt and garlic on a carrot. Well, you have used your platform to promote equity in the food space. And what that is for you is a database called Equity at the Table. It's a database for food professionals focusing on people of color and members of the LGBTQ plus community. So I'd love to get your take on the Bon Appetit controversy from a few months ago, which is a really big conversation in the food world, because there were reports of toxic and racist behavior in the Bon Appetit community, within the cultures.
My big takeaway from it is the fact that the people who had the most to lose, honestly, and who were, the most courageous to speak up first before anyone else were all of the women of color on that staff. And I think that that is something that's very true when you look back in history, like where change happens, it's usually women of color who lead the charge.
So Julia, my favorite cookbooks are always sort of they do some incredible storytelling as well.
Mm.
And they're the kind of books, along with the recipes obviously, but they're the kind of books you have on your bedside table and you're reading them, and yours is also like this. You have recipes, but you actually include essays you've written as well, which I just think is such a beautiful thing to do. And you share the story behind your final dish, and that has an amazing name, and it's called Mustardy Cracker Crumb Fish. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, sure. So the story behind this dish, the mustardy cracker crumb fish, is a really, really close to home story. And for me, this is a recipe that comes from the weekly cooking volunteer shift that my wife Grace and I have done every week for about 5 years now at a place called Angel Food East. We are cooking for homebound clients who are homebound for a number of reasons, whether it's illness, age, whatever it might be. And we're providing them with these homemade, nutritious, very cozy meals. And that's so much of what's in this book. It's meals that are just trying to take care of people.
Yeah.
So this dish is something we make there all the time because we often are using food that's donated or, from the big food pantry. So when we get fish, which is always really exciting, we love to give our clients fish. It's usually frozen, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with frozen fish, but usually it's like been thawed, maybe not so great or something. And it just needs a little something to give it some life and honestly, a little bit of love, just to really show our clients that some care has gone into it. So I just take crackers from the pantry, crush them up, and then mix them with a little bit of mustard, a little bit of melted butter, or you could use olive oil, and then some Old Bay seasoning, which to me is just the best thing to put on any seafood because it's all the spices I love and they're already mixed together. So it's great. So you mix that, and the mixture becomes almost like the texture of wet sand. And then you put all your fish fillets on a sheet pan, and then you just pack those crumbs right on, stick it in the oven, and you get something that tastes like sort of crunchy fried fish. But it's so easy. It's like it's literally crumbs, but there's so much flavor, there's texture, it looks beautiful, and it really just gives you that extra little level of care and consideration, which to me is one of the best gifts of loving to cook. I get to express my consideration for people.
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm fighting back tears from that story.
Thank you so much for all your work and for walking us through these recipes and sharing your stories with us. It's been such a joy to have you on our show. We feel really, really lucky. The recipes that we talked about today will be available on our social media channels after the show. And don't forget, Julia's cookbook, Simply Julia, is available now. We'll be right back.